right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So the Jets lost last night to the New England Patriots, and a loss sucks, right? Especially if it's on prime time, especially if it's against a division rival. But I got to be honest. When I was watching the team last night, thinking about it at halftime, thinking about it right as the game was wrapping up, as I was kind of setting up everything to, film the recap video, it just kind of hit me. It really felt like one of those 2021 Detroit Lions losses where it is just clear that the team needs more talent, right? We need another edge. We need more help at wide receiver, quarterback, right? We all know what this team needs, right? We're gonna do tons of videos on it as the rest of the season continues, and of course as the offseason unfolds. I cannot wait to really dive into that stuff. I have so many video ideas planned, so many players that are realistic that the New York Jets can land. We are setting ourselves up nicely for a really, really good environment to add talent once the offseason hits, but we're not there yet. Point is, the Jets need talent, right? Then you factor in the injuries on top of that. I mean, even if we had a healthy AVT and a Braylon Allen and a Garrett Wilson and all these guys are healthy, Azari Thomas was out there, Will McDonald was 100%, we would still be in a talent deficit. And then, of course, you're looking at the mistakes. And this is something that, man, it just killed me watching. But at the same time, it's giving you encouragement because it's like the team is there. You just have to seize the opportunities. They're right in front of your face. What happens if, Adonai Mitchell catches that deep ball down the field? What happens if Justin Fields actually was functioning like a normal NFL quarterback? I'm not talking top 10, top 15. I'm talking normal. Could Justin Fields be the 22nd, 23rd best passer in the league? If that was the case, if Justin had, 130 yards at halftime passing, 140 yards passing, finished the game with 240, 250, those numbers aren't really, grandiose or anything like that, but they're just kind of normal run of the mill. If you're watching a Thursday night game and it's, Seahawks, Cardinals, and Kyler Murray puts up 265 yards, 1 touchdown. Sam Darnold puts up 235 yards with 2 touchdowns. You're probably looking at that and saying like, okay, that's normal. If Fields just looked like an average run of the mill passer, could that game maybe looked a little bit different, right? Ruckert had a couple drops. What about the penalties? By the way, I felt like some of those penalties were just ridiculous. Some of them were just absolutely ridiculous when I was watching. I'm like, God, you got to be kidding me. How is this being called? But nevertheless, the Jets were flagged a lot in this game. I mean, defensively, the linebackers were getting torched in coverage. And we do have to credit McDaniels there because he did a great job of putting the linebackers on islands in coverage, whether it was, having a linebacker trail a target deep, opening up the middle of the field. I think that's one of the reasons why you saw so many just gash plays by Drake May, right? He's dropping back. He has all the time in the world to throw, and then he just dumps one over the middle of the field, digs to a running back, to a tight end, whatever, and nobody's around him. I mean, the coverage for the linebackers was just awful. And if they weren't being pulled deep, they were almost on their toes a little bit, trying to be aggressive in the run game. And then you had McDaniels pull off against slot wide receivers, tight ends, over Stephon Diggs, even over the middle of the field, to find these voids in the defense. And it was just really frustrating to watch. In fact, Jarvis Brown-Lee actually called out the players after the game. He literally said, hey, this is not coaching. The players have to communicate better. Let me pull up the exact quote here. Not up to our standard. All the miscommunication out there. Guys not on the same page. Ain't got nothing to do with the coaching staff. It's the guys on the field. We got to get this crap right. He goes on by saying, we can't come into the game and crap just goes out the other ear, or we forget to pre-communicate and things like that. And that's been, I've had my issues with Steve Wilkes, especially early on in the season, with some of the stuff that he would do, but and of course, right, the Jets are still not generating many turnovers. But, again, the reality is, if we look at the amount of youth, the amount of backups that are playing right now, the lack of talent, the lack of depth, understanding the Gardner and Quinnen trade, kind of short-term pain, long-term gain with the draft picks, like there's going to be, the expectation can't be LOB, Legion of Boom, everybody going out and dominating. But going back to Steve Wilkes, It's hard to run any defensive system if you cannot rush the passer. It's, whatever system you want to roll with, 3-4, 3-3-5, 4-3, 4-2, whatever you want to do. If you cannot get after the passer, blitz heavy, non-blitz heavy, trying to get after your, the QB with just your down lineman. If you cannot do that, you're going to have a long day. Everyone wants to rave about how good of a defensive coach Robert Saleh is. Look at what he's doing in San Francisco. Look at what he did with the Jets. Look at what he was in San Francisco before arriving to the Jets. Well, what was the defensive rank for this amazing defensive mind when he first arrived? It was 32. It was the worst defense in football. Well, how is that the case? You would expect this amazing defensive mind to have the players in a position where, hey, maybe they're not, above average, but they can at least be average to a little bit below. No, that defense was dead last. And the main reason why, and we talked about it at the time, they are not getting after the passer. Okay, if Saleh and Ulbrich, they don't want to blitz, that's fine. They want to stick to their core of their system. That's okay. But you have to have pass rushers in your front four. So I don't care what defensive coordinator you're talking about, how good their defensive system can be. If you can't get after the passer, you're simply going to be exposed because you can't ask corners and safeties to, maneuver in space, cover these guys for 5-6 seconds, 7 seconds. I mean, why do you think like Patrick Mahomes extending plays is so lethal? Josh Allen extending plays is so lethal because these corners and DBs overall and linebackers in space, they can't cover forever. If Josh is scrambling, Patrick Mahomes is scrambling back there with the ball, of course they're going to find wide open players eventually after the play breaks down, which is, an extreme example of not being able to get after the passer. But and it looks like Wilkes is trying his hardest to get after May, or was trying his hardest. He's at times sending 6 players. And if you looked at a lot of the blitz calls from last night, there were moments where Wilkes would just trot that 5th guy, even in some cases that 6th guy, up close to the line of scrimmage. And then as soon as May would snap the ball, they would rush in. Why do you think Wilkes was calling plays or blitzes like that, as opposed to, these safety blitzes or these delayed blitzes or, simulated stuff where you're showing blitz from one end, then you're dropping him and you're having another blitzer come in from a different end, or even like corner blitzes, nickel corner stuff, because those are longer developing blitz calls. When you just trot everyone up close to the line of scrimmage, the quarterback theoretically has to get rid of the football. Not only does he just have to get rid of it, but you're also banking on him to find the correct read as well as delivering an accurate pass, because there's so much heat in the pocket. But the problem was the Jets were sending these extra bodies and we weren't really getting home. Yeah, Jermaine Johnson had a sack late and whatnot, but I'm talking pressures, hurries. How much is Drake May looking comfortable back there? How much is he being forced to escape the pocket? Is he fading back? Does he look confused? Does he look comfortable? All these things. Drake May looked calm, cool, and collected last night. And it sucked watching as a fan, right? Absolutely sucked. And also, I do think how the Patriots started off the game, there was a lot of quick passing, right? What's the best way? If you have a questionable offensive line and you don't want your quarterback getting hit for whatever reason, what's the number one way to mitigate a pass rush? Well, it's actually to run the football a lot, but also get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly. And that's what Drake May was doing early. And then as the game progresses, now you're starting to see longer developing plays. And, the Jets just simply couldn't get home. So really the bottom line here, the whole point of this video is you're looking at the talent deficit. You're looking at, the situation, who we're playing in their house on a short week. This is not excuses. These are literal facts. And you're looking at the mistakes, right? Injuries are one thing, but look at the mistakes, the drops, the quarterback play, the defense, the pass rush. The Jets dropped 2 Drake May picks in the first half alone. 2 INTs right in our hands, and we couldn't secure them. God. You had the Ruckert drop late on the 4th down where he was actually going to convert, but he dropped that one too. And the final score was what, 27-14? If I was writing that down, I probably could have jotted down at least 30 bullet points on why last night favored New England. And we lost 27-14. And, again, this is not me sitting here trying to be optimistic. Oh, we only lost by this much. That's a moral victory. No, but it's just similar to the early days of the Detroit Lions where they were losing games things were going wrong. They needed a lot of talent. They needed help. But you can see, okay, the team is fighting. Somehow the game is close. Somehow, it's only 14-7 at halftime. If Ruckert would have caught that simple pass, everything stays the same. If Ruckert would have caught that pass at the end of the game, we pick up the first down and we managed to punch it in. The final score would have been 21-27. Again, in a game where I could probably list off 30 bullet points on why the Patriots should win or why they at least have the advantage. So, again, no sort of moral victories, but I think there is a difference between moral victory and critically analyzing what happens and where this team needs to address moving forward. Because without critical analysis, what's the point in watching games, right? Why not just spend your Sunday doing something else and just looking at the score and just saying, okay, well, the team sucks and that's it. We need to move forward. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on this. For me, at least, I'm very excited for the offseason, the free agency possibilities, the trade possibilities, the draft possibilities, really start loading this team in with talent. And in the meantime, the rest of this season, of course, I want this team to win games. It's very, very important that that they're giving 100%, that the coaches are riding and dying with every win. And we're also getting these young guys snaps. Adonai Mitchell dropping the 2 passes yesterday. Like, it is what it is. Like, at one point they kind of showed him on the sidelines and he looked wide-eyed, like, what the hell is going, like, you could just tell that he had the jitters last night. And the guy showed up a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. He's never, like, last night you kind of felt like he was in the biggest role that he's ever been in since he's been drafted to the NFL, because his time with the Colts, he was like wide receiver 4. The hope was wide receiver 3. Now, to be fair, Mitchell, like, from a physical standpoint, he was creating separation. He was getting by guys. He was, like, just from a, wide receiver versus corner 1v1 standpoint, like, I really liked what I saw. Again, despite the drops, I know everyone is just completely ripping him, and rightfully so. He did drop 2 really, really bad passes. He had a third drop, but who really counts that as a drop? The pass was just F minus. It needs to be out front, over the shoulder, to lead Mitchell up the field. That would have been an easy first down, an easy gain of 10, probably gain of 15. And where's the pass? You have Mitchell coming out, rolling out to the sidelines, expecting a pass out here or out here. And Mitchell now has to jump backwards, literally jump backwards, fully extend back into his left to try to come up with the pass. And even if he would have caught that, he would have been on the ground and someone would have touched him. So it's just frustrating, right? It's frustrating stuff. But anyway, from a physical standpoint, I think there is something there with Adonai Mitchell. And the drops, they're young players. Drops are bound to happen, right? Mechie had a drop the previous week. We got to work out the kinks, right? Utilize the rest of the season here to get the young players action, to get the young players experience, to get them reps, so they're not having mental errors next season. Or, let's say Mechie just continues on this pace, right? Where he's catching passes. He got a touchdown last night. He looks fast. He looks explosive. And maybe the Jets are like, hey, we actually think Mechie's going to be a long-term building block for us. How cool would that be? If he put, for the remainder of the season, he gets 500 receiving yards, and he actually becomes like a threat. Like, whoa, Mechie's coming out of the scene. Mitchell has that same potential too, but of course, with wide receivers comes the precursor, which is effective quarterback play in the passing game. The Jets don't have that. So personally, I'm moving on to Tyrod Taylor. I just, it's too many games where you're just getting F minus in the passing attack. Again, it would be one thing if Fields is finishing with 200 passing yards. You feel like Tanner Engstrand is handcuffed. Like, if Glenn is so tied to Justin Fields, the runner, there's no sort of NFL rule. There's no rule in the rule book saying you can't add in a Wildcat quarterback. I would use Justin Fields like Taysom Hill. 3 to 5 snaps a game. He comes in, direct quarterback power, direct quarterback draw. Use him on a reverse. Use him running an RPO. Use him on the goal line. Use him on tush push. Right? 3rd and goal, you're going for it on 4th. So third and goal, you can kind of get a little wacky, maybe try something new. Bring Justin Fields in, right? I mean, we all remember Brad Smith former Missouri Tiger, he comes into the Jets. They were yanking Sanchez out, putting Brad Smith in a couple times per game, and having him run the RPO or running an option type of play and having him run upfield. Like, he was a dynamic athlete, utilize his legs. And then one thing I wish the Jets did more with Brad Smith was actually have him throw the ball, because he did have that potential to throw down the field. So, I mean, there's moments where, if you want to, for 3 weeks straight, bring Justin Fields in and only run like 2 plays, and at that point in time, it would be catching defenses off guard. But on that 4th week, when there's tape, you can bring Fields in, maybe have him run 1 play, and then on the 2nd play, you have him throw over the middle of the field, just 1 pass. Or you have like a wide open running back wheel route, Brees Hall up the sideline. And you can, where the whole defensive coordinator or defensive operation is thinking run. Justin Fields is in the game, they're going to run. Fields still can hit the open guy, I would hope, hit the open wheel route or something like that, or play action or something. So that's my plan of attack. Not saying I'm right. That's just saying, that's just what I would do personally here. Taylor's the starter, first team reps, no going back and forth. Justin Fields is coming in 3 times per game to do quarterback runs, wildcat stuff, RPOs, things of that nature. That way you're not completely dumping Fields' legs. Again, if Glenn wants to continue on with that, I just feel like it could be a useful tool in the toolbox for a lackluster offense when you're trying to create something new. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.